Disclaimer. The content featured in the following broadcast is purely for educational information purposes. It is based on real-life experiences and POV. Do not contact anyone featured or referred to in this video.
And please do your own research.
MrBeast is the American dream.
So I've been hearing stuff about MrBeast for a while, about how he exploits mainly children and vulnerable people while making himself out to be a philanthropist hero with so much money he just has to give it away. And because, like in every other video I've made, his business model is completely unsustainable, it was inevitable it was going to come crashing down. And so now it's being revealed just what a fraud and scammer he is, and most recently people he hired to take part in a huge gaming event for Amazon Prime. Well, they ended up injured and in hospital. And at this point, it's like, how much evidence do you need that kids' entertainment attracts predators and exploits them to make money? And I've come to find out that it's the very same corporations that are causing inequality and the cost of living crisis that are sponsoring these giveaways. So if you don't know, MrBeast is currently #1 in the subscriber ratings on YouTube according to Social Blade, with over 300 million subs. Although apparently in the last 30 days he's getting 50% less than he used to. And he also heavily pushes the short form content on YouTube, aka shorts. Let's just say he's kind of a figurehead for the YouTube platform. And in a lot of media outlets he's portrayed as social media goals and a financial genius. And what I keep hearing is that his content is aimed at kids. But the first thing you notice when you look at his content is it's pushing gambling.
Are you willing to risk it all?
I will tell you there's an opportunity to get a lot more in one of these cases. There's also an opportunity to get a little less.
Fast food. And the idea that loads of cash is going to change your life.
3, 2, 1, go! Oh my gosh. One of you is very close to it.
I could really use this 10 grand, but I'm a chance taker.
So I don't know why more people don't make that observation. And he also did a sponsorship with Shopify, an online commerce platform. So I don't see how that's appropriate to sell to children. But let's start with the so-called philanthropy. Within a few minutes of my research, I found 2 people saying it was the production company's money that was being given away, not his own.
Well, his first message was, "Can you help me make money?" So after him and I got to know each other, the first call I made was to a friend of mine who had just left MeUndies to go to this company called Honey. Don't quote me on this, but I think the first video he did was donating $50,000 to Ninja. At the time, Ninja was blowing up on Fortnite, and he was doing this charity live stream on Twitch. And we convinced Honey to give us money, and then we donated $40,000 across this like live stream to Ninja, and we turned it into a video. And to this day, this could be wrong now, but as of a couple years ago, it was the #1 downloaded day for Honey. They like showed us that when we went into the office, like their chart of downloads over time.
I went to these games based on 2 factors. Okay, one is that I would have a chance to win the $5 million because there was no pay for doing this. Someone came out and they spoke to us as a group, and I don't think it was the full group of people, but it was a large chunk of the people. Okay, so we were put into a group, and this person came out, and basically they said that the producers will be picking the person that wins the $5 million. And they said that, you know, basically the producers are putting up the money, they're putting up the risk, and so they're going to pick who it is, and there's not much they can do about it.
So there's currently lots of content showing how his videos are fake and how the winners are set up. And what I found kind of explains it, but it does not excuse how he's clearly been deceiving people into thinking otherwise. And there's also videos I'll put in the description below explaining how brands use their partnerships with him as a PR exercise to make it look like they're charitable, when, like I said, they're the ones causing the issues, like pollution and uneven wealth distribution. And they're super detailed and documented documented. So I'm going to talk about something I've not seen anyone else doing. And I started looking into his finances and how it looks like he's also trying to deceive his fellow creators and the media. And then it starts making sense why people think he's so much more wealthy than he probably is. And just from me doing a little bit of research online, I can't help seeing the lies he's been caught out in. And while I was making the video, a tweet came out by his spokesperson, a guy called Chucky, who looks like a teenager, saying everyone reading it needs to dispel all this fake rumours. But they don't look fake from where I'm sitting. And I was wondering why he didn't have a PR speaking for him, or an agent with all the money his business has. It turns out he split from his manager in May of this year, and in March he'd announced that he was working with Amazon, who have been shown over and over they disregard human working rights. And MrBeast said in one of his newsworthy quotes, "Amazon gave me the creative control I need to try and make it happen. I hope to make the YouTube community proud." So as executive producer, the buck really stops with him. And this is looking like one big mess up. And it's looking like he might be a victim of the venture capitalist system, which he was promoting in 2021. So if you're new to my channel, I've made a few videos explaining how venture capitalists raise funds for tech ideas or startups based on their valuation. And they can raise like $1 billion for a company that doesn't even make any money. As long as they can keep showing the investors it's got growth potential. They get to the next stage of funding, raising more money and spending on keeping the company going. So really it has no value to anyone other than the investors. A couple of examples being the metaverse, ChatGPT, and the Cybertruck. Didn't MrBeast just give one of them away? But we'll get to his relationship with Elon Musk in a minute. So the whole tech industry is built on this model, including YouTube itself. And if you've heard it never made money for a long time, that's the reason why, as it was purely focused on growing its user base, so it can keep on getting more investment as capital. And this is a complex but completely legal system that the banks are using. So they're not loaning money, but they're financing it. And all these businesses are built on huge, massive debt. And so in 2020, Knight Inc., his management company, announced that it was forming a new investment company called Knight Investments with the Chermin Group. You see what they did there? And by the way, they had a joint venture with AT&T, who's behind a network of tens of thousands of creators. And it looks like this is where it all started to go downhill. And as Max in this article points out, some firms are privately reluctant to work with the creator, aka Jimmy Donaldson, because he has a reputation for being a tough client. And so let's go back to this investment deal and how Jimmy, in his enthusiasm to become super rich, gave most of his business away. So he's apparently already taken funding on a smaller scale from companies like Jelly Smack and Spotter. Now, Jelly Smack uses AI to maximize top creators' cross-platform growth in exchange for a revenue cut. Now, how does that work? You mean they use fake views? Beating the algorithm with AI technology? Surely not. And with Spotter, he's accepted capital to invest in assets for the business. So that would explain how he could buy a house, you know, to use as a studio to film in exchange for equity, where he's given away half of his revenue rights to his back catalogue, much like the shady deals that record companies have been doing for years and that artists have been complaining about. To show how predatory their intentions are, the founders are quoted as saying, "We've been focusing on the highest viewership creators on the platform so that we can deploy as much capital as possible to prove out the model." You know, kind of like creating a false impression. And also explains why he's set up so many channels so he can max out his revenue potential.
My name's Jimmy, or MrBeast, and I have a YouTube channel with 70 million subscribers. I did a deal with our Espanol channel just because the cost of dubbing is pretty expensive. And the revenue, you know, on YouTube's delayed. You don't get it instantly. So we could keep dubbing videos and uploading. It was pretty helpful to just get a little bit of money up front so we could fund future dubs. If all goes to plan, the goal is to do 30 MrBeast channels dubbed. Beast Reacts, Beast Gaming, and MrBeast in the top 10 languages in the world outside of English.
So they're really selling this idea of loaning upfront cash for a lower return, which kind of reminds me of something. But let me not get distracted. And so venture capitalists investing in creators in return for receiving a portion of their ad revenue seems to be quite the thing. It explains why a lot of them have these super expensive studios that they film in and super professional editing. And they make it look like you need all that or you won't do well on YouTube. I don't know what was going on behind the scenes, but he did his own partnership deal with a venture capitalist firm called Creative Juice to help creators. So let me show you how this works. Creative Juice secures $50 million from a lender, and out of that the creator receives $250K as a loan that they have to pay back with their ad revenue income. Despite his brand's philanthropy ethic, they make it very clear, we want to make money, we're not a charity, but we want to see creators thrive and succeed. Interesting, when I looked at one of the winners, it looks like they haven't made any content for about 9 months. I don't know what happened there, but it doesn't sound very sustainable. Another private equity enterprise, his food business, which in 2022 he valued at 1.5 billion, has ended up being a bit of a disaster. The thing is, if you want to offer something like food, for people to want to buy it has to be of a certain quality. Then if you try and provide it in the cheapest way to maximize your profit, and the service is provided by someone with the same intention, this is what ends up happening. In July, MrBeast filed a lawsuit in New York federal court against the company, alleging that it damaged his reputation by serving consumers low quality and occasionally inedible food. Virtual dining concepts, the ghost kitchen that provided the food service, a week later asserted in its own lawsuit filed in New York State Court that Donaldson and his company Beast Investments failed to keep contractual obligations and sued over intentional tortious interference, whatever that is. So they then refiled a civil case, and that's going to cost a lot in legal fees, I should imagine, but they're still up on their website. The funny thing is, Knight Ventures, his ex-agent's investment firm, received an investment of $100 million towards funding Knight Capital. So it's like an investment firm that the investment firms invested in. And that firm aims to invest in creators who can create profitable businesses akin to the success of MrBeast Burger. I'm so confused. Confused as how that can be called a success. But with that said, and this may explain why he's no longer with that manager, the group acquired the Roost network from Warner Brothers Discovery. This is like venture capitalism on steroids. So although when I click on their website it won't show me who their roster is, allegedly H3, Ethan Klein, Theo Von and Philip DeFranco, who's one of MrBeast's defenders on YouTube. And I see that in 2023 they purchased Kai Cenat's agency. And I think I've seen that MrBeast did a video with Kai Cenat on his TikTok. And I've seen other videos where he's brought people in and he's like, oh, this person needs to get views. And I'm like, I don't know if they were paying him for this, but it's kind of like they were using him to get other people's followers up. And aren't they now kind of like his rivals in this industry? So it feels like since all these takeovers, the whole thing's been kind of collapsing for him. So let's get into how bad it really is that venture capitalists are funding the biggest creators on YouTube and streamers, particularly those that target a younger or vulnerable audience, i.e. giving them cash up front for a stake in their company whereby they receive the proceeds of their ad revenue. And why is nobody talking about this? They're funneling the ad revenue back to the same companies that own them. These venture capitalist firms have so many conflicts of interest, and that's why they're so secretive about who owns the funds and who's on the boards of directors. But one thing I know is it always leads back to the same people, and they're invested in companies like Google, who owns YouTube, McDonald's, Chipotle, and all the food companies. The list goes on and on.
And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of Jim'll Fix It.
Jimmy Savile for years was making out he was helping kids and doing so much charity work, when all the time he was taking advantage of them for his own gratification. And why do you think he got away with it for so long? He was given a knighthood, and the BBC covered it up, threatening legal action to anyone who wanted to expose him. Even this week, the highest paid broadcaster at the BBC, a man called Hugh Edwards, was outed for making CP. And no one's barely talking about it. And it's like every week, a new one of these PDFs is exposed in the children's entertainment industry. And they're all funded by the same entities and they're promoting the same. First of all, what use is a Lambo to a child that's not old enough to drive? And second, I know from personal experience that having a Lamborghini does not make you happy. But they're going to keep on pushing this idea that it does, along with real estate, going to space, and fast food. And safety and human rights is where these industries cut costs. And I've kept wondering why it's the same people that promote Elon Musk's product. So it is no surprise to see MrBeast, who has built no infrastructure for his business, have it all come on top. So now he's indebted to these investors, and he hasn't invested in the people around him to deal with these issues of covering up his mistakes, which I'm not saying is a bad thing, because otherwise we wouldn't know about it, but he's resorted to the lowest corporate bullying tactics to try and silence people that are talking about it. And only today, well, I've seen this has happened to someone who had worked for him very briefly and made what I thought was a really good video about him. But everything I'm presenting in my video is purely from my own research. It has nothing to do with that video.
We have another one here. It says Dawson.
So that's his real name, which they obviously doxed.
Again, that's Dogpack's name. I'm texting you anonymously to let you know that I heard James wants to have private investigators start following you and looking into every detail of your life. He wants them to reach out to your former employees, find all your social media accounts, your family's social media accounts, videos of you, anything. They already have a Google Doc listing possible ways to discredit you, including you're on drugs and have mental health problems, your mom's bipolar, you're an obsessed superfan, you're crying, begging for your job back after they fired you, you tried to steal company funds, etc. I don't know what's true and what's not, but personally I really think you should just take everything down ASAP. If you take it down, they'll leave you alone.
And I hope it doesn't get taken down, because why should it? And no one that knows him's come out with anything that disproves what was said in it, which when he has like a $50 million studio is a bit of a waste of a resource. And if they really are sending texts, I notice the first thing they do is to go digging into his personal life, something which I try to avoid in my videos. Everything I find is open sourced from the World Wide Web. And then I always try and verify if what they're saying is factually correct. And a lot of the financial stats is hidden behind a subscription service paywall. So the majority of press articles are syndicated from press releases put out by the company's PR team, which is very lazy journalism. And they use clickbaity headlines. And so more accurate information is often buried, and I go looking for testimonials from people so I can hear the words out of their own mouth. Like this clip I found here.
I just make the best videos possible, and sometimes I have to spend money.
So the honest impression I get of MrBeast is that he doesn't like spending his own money, despite what is told to us in the media. And so not spending anything on people's safety, well, that kind of adds up. Just like his idol Elon Musk. But ironically, in January, he kind of called Elon out over the amount of ads he got on a video on X, calling it a bit of a facade. I think the information that tens of thousands of YouTube channels are funded by venture capitalists is very important, because it kind of compromises the content, and they're clearly being boosted in the algorithm by AI technology. But like I said, I've not seen anyone else talking about it, least of all the financial channels, because I think they're just trying to push investments or courses, or maybe they're sponsored by them themselves. Anyway, if you enjoyed this independent content, maybe give it a like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.